Let's talk about Israel's ongoing genocide in Gaza, and obviously
Okay.
some argued that this is also a project of Israel's Greater Israel, and you are one of them.
Yes.
Obviously, it's not just
Yes.
is Israel that they are doing it. It's like it's project of US and other Western countries too. So
Yes.
of course you wrote an article about it, and
Yes.
so. And you argued, yes, you argued that okay, this is a Greater Israel project and US is behind it totally. So
Yes.
you wrote
Okay.
Greater
So
Israel, yeah, Greater
that's
Israel,
it.
full spectrum dominance and global catastrophe. So in it
Yeah.
you argued that Greater Israel project and the Pentagon's Joint Mission 2020 a project full spectrum political
Yes.
and military dominance are
Yes.
closely aligned. So yeah, just
Yes.
explain to us,
So sure.
yeah, what's the Greater
So
Israel project and Pentagon Joint
okay.
Mission
So
2020?
one tactic of empire is to disassociate itself from its crimes. Okay. Syria is a big crime scene. So is Palestine right now. It's a huge crime scene according to international law and international standards. So the empire wants to disassociate itself from that. But empire is entirely complicit, as I point out in the article, by providing bombs and billions and arguably even more important, consent. Okay. Um, there's no question that empire is, or Israel, which I would argue is a proxy for empire, is committing genocide against Palestinians. Francesca Albanese, she has made it very clear that it's genocide. I've written a number of articles on it. It's genocide. The intent is there to wipe them out. It's like uh, beyond description, beyond evil. It's too much. Okay, so Empire wants to disassociate from its crimes, but no, their Empire is closely aligned to this Greater Israel project. Okay, right now Israel is illegally occupying parts of Syria, which is part of the plan. As is Washington. Washington has been illegally occupying and plundering and looting in Syria for a long time now. And like the same with Turkey, and now Al Qaeda, which has been a proxy for the West all along, is presenting itself as the new quote unquote government. And the government is revealing its hand, which is genocide of minorities in Syria. It's all unspeakable, but it all ties in with this global hegemony. You notice that empire is always at war, they're never at peace. They're never at peace. I don't remember the last time empire was at peace. They're always bombing someone. Okay, that's part of the global plan of global hegemony, which is ties in with this Joint Vision 2020, Pentagon's Joint Vision 2020 project of full spectrum global political and military dominance. Okay, so if Syria, which was never ever a threat to you or me or Canada or US, is destroyed and occupied, then it can become a launch pad for, say, a war against Iran. We know that they want war against Iran. General Wesley Clark, 7 countries in 5 years. Okay, all of it's been made public, but the mainstream media, which is complicit in all of this, hides it and covers it up and tries to disassociate empire from its crimes. It's actually a plan for global dominance. Okay, and now I just read a Paul Craig Roberts article, which has disappeared. Oh, here it is. And maybe he read my article, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But his views are aligned with mine in terms of full spectrum dominance and the fact that, well, I mean, it should be obvious that Israel's not working alone, right? I mean, obviously, they're allies. And Canada is not guilty either. Canada is delivering arms and so on. So there's this. It also this full spectrum global hegemony uh, also aligns with so-called neocon doctrine. And Paul Craig Roberts, in discussing the proposed Ukraine uh, ceasefire, wrote about it. Can I read to you a paragraph? This is
Sure,
from a recent
sure.
global research article that he just wrote. This scenario is not a product of Helmer's imagination. It is spelled out in an article in Foreign Affairs, Long the Arbiter of American Foreign Policy. The author, West Mitchell, I don't know if it's West Mitchell or West Mitchell, but anyway, a former Trump high official, clearly holds to the neoconservative policy stated by Defense Undersecretary Paul Wolfowitz that the purpose of American foreign policy is hegemony over the world. Well, there's another document that aligns with another viewpoint from a high official that aligns with this Joint Vision 2020, which is a project for full spectrum global political and military dominance, and also former Ramsey Clark, in his book Fire This Time, I think that's what it's called. I'm currently reading it. He references that too in the beginning of his book. This when he's talking about the illegality of the Gulf War, but also wider spectrum U.S. plans. And look, Israel has way. Okay, so the Israel lobby in the States is extraordinarily powerful. I would argue far too powerful.
Right.
And I believe Kennedy and others tried to get it or argued persuasively that it should be registered as a foreign agent. And I agree with that. The Zionist lobby is far too powerful, as are other lobbies. The military industrial complex lobby is far too powerful. We were talking about Syria, and when I was there a few times, and I talked to the Grand Mufti, and he said that what should be obvious to a lot of us is, I think, is that we should take the profit out of war. I mean, there are armaments makers who are making tremendous amount of money from war. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon. So the tax dollars are being funneled into these military corporations, which are profiting from war, and it's an endless cycle. Because when there's profit to be made, as there's profit to be made in a destroyed Syria, which, in my view, well, the plan all along has been to balkanize Syria, and that's exactly what happened. So imperialists, Zionists are in there, Israel is in there. Like I said, U.S., Turkey, and Al Qaeda fronting as a government. They weren't elected by anyone,
So,
and they're committing a genocide. Go ahead. Yeah.
so if I get it right, if you are saying that Israel is a proxy of US or US is a proxy for the Israeli.
Uh, okay, so Israel, according to Jeff Sachs, and I tend to agree with this, is strongly in favor of destroying the Middle East to its favor, to its perceived advantage, which is what is happening. One after another, these countries are being invaded by the West and its proxies and benefit, well, in quotes, one of the beneficiaries would be Israel, because now, for example, they are expanding. They want to get rid of Palestinians. They want those resources, the gas resources, and they are already legally occupying Syria now. So that is, I mean, that is quote unquote a benefit to Israel as well as to Washington. So is Israel doing Washington's bidding, or is it the other way around? I'm not sure which, but but the outcome benefits both parties. Israel wants to expand according to the Oded plan and the plan of Greater Israel, and that's exactly what Israel is doing. Israel is getting what it wants, okay? But what Israel wants aligns with this Washington's global hegemony, global dominance. If Israel can dominate the Middle East, then so can Washington. So they're working hand in glove. So which is the more powerful in terms of military? Which party seeks global hegemony? Washington. Washington seeks global hegemony. Does Israel have too much influence over Washington? Yes, I would say so. Absolutely.
Yes, because I mean they are funding their parties, political parties. I mean both
Yes,
Democrats
it's
and Republicans,
ridiculous.
obviously funding
It's
billions.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well,
So
billionaires are running the states to a large degree. I mean, it's not the people. And a billionaire class is running the media as well. So, I mean, people talk about democracy, but the media is not democratic. What you and I are doing now is democratic media. But how many people are going to, I mean, this is not going to be the nightly news, right? I mean, it doesn't have the same exposure as the corporate media. It should, it really should, if we're going to pretend to have a free press and free media, it should have the alternate opinions based upon evidence. We're not just making things up. The Joint Vision 2020 is a real document. So alternate informed opinions based upon evidence
and facts.
should and context should have widespread airing. And instead, we're heavily censored. I'm heavily censored.
Right.
I mean, we're
So, yeah, one of the just because you use the word censored, and that's you wrote on that article. Obviously, there is a quote unquote word. It's just that manufacturing dissent. So
yes,
obviously, yeah, obviously you mentioned that, and you argued that okay, there are countries, obviously mainly West and West countries, mainly US, they are trying to suppress the freedom of expression of the, I mean, press and other things.
yes.
So yeah, so can you just
They're being
expand on
very
that? Yeah, can you
sure.
just expand?
Well, yeah. Well, Jeffrey Sachs pointed this out. A lot of people know about Operation Timber Sycamore. Okay, that funded the jihadis, which included Al Qaeda, ISIS. Okay, and we're talking billions of dollars and training and equipping and so on. And it was public. It's a public uh, operation. But how many people know about it? And
Right.
Sachs says that uh, over the course of, I don't know, 10 or 11 years, they mentioned the New York Times mentioned this operation. I don't remember, two or three times. Well, that's censorship.
Yeah.
You're censoring the root cause of that war, which is a military intelligence operation of regime change. And I will add that it's a successful, unfortunately, to the detriment of humanity, especially Syrians, but others as well. It's a successful regime change because Syria as a country has mostly been destroyed. It cannot defend itself now.
Right.
And the proxies, Al Qaeda, ISIS, and their proxies for Israel as well, they serve imperial interests, not the interests of Syrians. The country that I visited three times no longer exists. The country that I visited was a country with an elected president. It's a country that embraced pluralism, did not define itself in terms of religion. It was a secular government. Even a NATO survey indicated that it was extraordinarily popular. Okay. There were Christian communities. I went to Malula and they were vibrant and they were rebuilding. But Malula, as one example, and the Shrine of St. Takla was destroyed by empire's proxies. And interestingly, the Syrian Arab army defended Malula, but they were helped by Hezbollah as well. Okay, so these imperial projects are anti-Christian in the sense that Christians are being pushed right out of Syria
But they are doing it
and
in
the
the
Middle
name of
East and the Middle
Christianity.
East.
But they are doing
Pardon?
it in, yeah, they are doing it in the name of Christianity. That's also one of the things.
Well, it's anti-Christian because they're pushing Christians out. They do it in the name of freedom and democracy. Really? Since when is Al Qaeda freedom?
Right.
That's the so-called government right now. But the Western intelligence is hard at work covering everything up. For example, a lot of people, if you see on the internet, they're using the Syrian Observatory of Human Rights (SOHR) as a source for the number of killed in this genocide of Alawites. Well, that's a Western intel source. That's like a guy in Coventry, England. Okay, so they're very good at these intelligence. Western imperialists are very good at what they're doing. They've been doing it for a long time. So they get so-called progressives or whoever buying into their NGOs who are not NGOs. They're actually governmental foundation funded and so on, buying into the figures that Syrian Observatory of Human Rights gives them, only to be deceived down the road. Okay, they're trying right now to minimize the scope of the genocide right now happening against Alawites. The Syrian Observatory of Human Rights has given a figure. I don't know what their most recent figure is, 1,500, 1,600 killed, whatever. According to other sources, including Dan Kovalek, who's working on behalf of he's a lawyer working on behalf of the Alawites, the number is much higher. According to Eva Bartlett, the number is much higher. Okay. According to, so people need to be wary of this. These intelligence agencies are very good at what they do.
Yeah, it's you mentioned Dan Kobelik, and obviously I'm working with him. So
Yes,
he mentioned that Jolani, the the Syrian leader, actually that
yes,
is an asset of the U.S. or
absolutely.
and the West,
And
obviously,
Britain.
and
Yep,
Britain. Obviously, he's
absolutely.
more worried about killing Alawites than obviously
Yep,
protecting his own borders. That's what he
that's
said to me.
correct.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's just demonstrated evidence. Israel is currently occupying large portions of what was Syria. And the national army is dissipated. It's not there. That's exactly what empire wants. It destroys countries so that they can't defend themselves, so that empire can work its way in and illegally occupy, steal the oil, and so on. That's imperialism. But they
sure.
pretend they're not imperialists. But I mean, this is part of the war propaganda, which is illegal, by the way. War propaganda is illegal. But how many Westerners know the truth about what's really happening in
Sure,
Palestine, in
and
Syria,
that's
in
also,
Ukraine?
yeah, that's also a project of the empire, because I mean they always censored things, for the public
Absolutely.
not to see it, or not to not to be informed about it.
That's correct.
So
Now,
because they control the media, they control Facebook, they control X, they control other social media
absolutely.
platforms too. You know,
Absolutely. Big tech, all of these, yes, all these big monopolies are playing on the same they're playing the same game, unfortunately. They
yeah,
pretend to be democratic. They aren't at all. I mean, my Facebook censorship is unbelievable.
right,
I mean, YouTube deleted all of my videos. And this isn't just about Syria, it's about COVID and other issues as well. They deleted everything. I have a very limited presence on on the internet because of censorship. So another illusion might be that the internet is free and democratic. That's nonsense. It's heavily censored.